Hey, we're back from our illness week, and we're going to close out the Formula One season.
Mostly feeling better, and I at least have my voice back as we look at some NASCAR and IndyCar news.
And then we're going to recap and highlight just what has all happened for us throughout the 2024 year before we take a couple weeks off. So, this is the season finale of FR Racing's Garage Talk right now. Welcome to the final FR Racing's Garage Talk of 2024. I'm DJ Fluck.
I'm Eric Richardson.
Got the final hesitation there, scary a little bit. So now that we've done that, uh, we missed last week over the some illness going on, but I've
We're
been like
back,
battling a
mostly.
cold and a cough for like 3 weeks now.
Yeah, I think I had bronchitis last week, and
That's
it
no
was
good.
more over the weekend, but
I mean, I tried to go to my usual pharmaceutical solutions of bourbon, and bourbon's more of a preventative. It's not necessarily like once you get the cold, the bourbon doesn't cure it, but it can prevent it. Medical science
it
proof.
helps you
No.
feel better during it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because we don't need to prove anything anymore. It's just say whatever we want.
Just remember, your
Uh
three friends are Jim, Jack, and Jose.
all right. So since we last there were two Formula One races. We have Max and George hating each other.
Yeah, pretty much.
We have Max getting into it with Oscar Piastri. We have Checo flaming out at Red Bull. We have a whole bunch of driver changes, including Esteban Ocon, which we knew he was leaving, but they cut him loose a week early. Jack Doohan. And it's going to be I mean, considering we went from last year to the beginning of this year, and I guess halfway through the season with no changes whatsoever.
We're changing
Uh,
up a lot this year.
yeah, I mean, Lewis Hamilton announced like January 1st, basically, he was going to Ferrari after the season, but that kind of moved things along.
I like how at the end of the race, it was like Lewis is retiring from Formula One racing.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. It was
dude,
like,
he's on grid next year. He's
yeah, like,
changing teams.
I
Like,
mean,
come
it's
on.
like, yeah, I get it. Like, he's been there for a dozen years. He's won numerous championships, drivers, constructors.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
done a lot.
yeah,
Can't
I mean,
take that away
it's,
from him, but
they call it the most successful partnership of all time. Like, again, probably depending on how long Max sticks around, but, um,
it's like what we saw when Vettel retired.
yeah, yeah, well, they're
And
doing
he
donuts.
retired.
Yeah. That was funny though. He joined Instagram just to tell everybody he was retiring. And they play the clip for Checo in one of those like behind the scenes things. He's like, he joined Instagram and he's like, I'm retiring. And he just kind of, Checo kind of like, what? But
And what about Checo? He had a rough go. You had K-Mag dive bombing, hitting Bottas, who knocks out Perez. So it's kind of not even of his own doing.
no, but him missing out on like Q1, getting knocked out Q1 repeatedly didn't help his cause either.
No.
It's just, I don't know. It's unfortunate. It's just like I can't think of a better word than unfortunate with just how that ended.
Yeah, we haven't seen an official as of the filming and recording of this. But I've seen something. He may have like a $16 million buyout.
Yeah. Although there was some allegedly there was a provision in his contract that if he finished more than X amount of points behind Max, they could like terminate him. I have to assume he missed that because they were showing the teammate gaps between the teammates.
It's what,
And
254 point difference.
yeah, and like the other nine teams, their point difference combined were less than the difference between Checo and Max, which is insane. I mean, it says more
To be
about
fair,
Max, but
in the beginning of the season, four races, Perez would have finished what? sixth in the overall
Yeah,
constructors.
yeah, yeah. It's just you got that. You've got um God, we're yeah, Ocon changing teams. You've got Carlos Sainz going to Williams, maybe.
He was
Uh,
in the car on Monday,
yeah. Well, and
orange car and testing.
there are some rumors that Mercedes is already getting some cold feet on Kimi Antonelli putting a straight rookie into the Mercedes ride with George, and it's like they. Yeah, they give a lot of criticism for the V car Barbie, whatever you call them, being the feeder team to Red Bull and having that too close of an alliance. I mean, you could kind of make that same argument with Williams and Mercedes,
Mhm.
and there's rumors going around. I don't know if it's been disproven or not, but they could say, "Oh, that's not true," and then a week later it happens. That they may swap drivers and put Kimi Antonelli in the Williams machine next year, and Carlos Sainz goes up and rides along a Mercedes, which you could see that. They said that it would give him some low pressure opportunities, that he doesn't have the same level of expectations in a Williams machine as he does in a Mercedes machine.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and I'm interested still to see what happens with Red Bull if they do swap or totally give Perez the boot.
I think he'll give him the boot because it's that what's his name? The guy from F2, Isaac
Oh,
Haydock.
Hajar, Hadar,
Hajar, yeah.
however you say it.
Yeah, he reportedly, or not reportedly, he inadvertently leaked that that was going to be the V carb ride is going to be his ride next year. So that means where does where does Liam Lawson go? And
If
there was
Yuki gets the seat, Liam Lawson's going to be livid.
yeah, but does he really deserve the second Red Bull seat?
Does Here's my question. Are either of those two better than Perez?
It's hard to say.
And I think that's one of the things Red Bull's actually going to be looking at.
I mean, we've made this argument several times where people have started calling for Checo's head. And then he said, okay, so if you cut him, who are you going to put in the seat better that you have a realistic possibility of signing? So it's like you're not getting Charles Leclerc. You're not getting Lewis. Lewis is, and Carlos Sainz allegedly wanted too much money. Is Carlos Sainz an upgrade over Checo?
Yeah.
Probably. But he wanted too much money allegedly. But like who are you realistically going to get that's better? You either, I mean, it sounds like, there was rumors that Valtteri Bottas had been approached by Red Bull and he said, it's like, I'm a Mercedes man that, or something to that extent, but I don't know. So a lot of questions that still need to be answered. And hey, McLaren has won their ninth constructors title. And they have now moved into a tie with Williams, who has not won a constructors title since 1997.
Yeah. It would have been really fun to see that battle shape up if Lando hadn't won. If Max could have gotten out front or maybe one of the Mercs. That would have really changed up that point battle.
Piastri got back into the points. Didn't he finish what, 10th, ninth?
Yeah, I think he got up to 10th. He scored a
Yeah,
couple points
so
in
so he
there.
got a point. Kevin Magnussen got the fastest lap.
Yeah, it's funny.
Oh man.
The whole
And
little brush up with Piastri and Max there on turn one, lap one.
yeah, that was
I like how Max gets penalty, but that door was left open.
yeah.
If you're not going for
Well
it, what are you
then
doing?
Piastri got a penalty later.
Yep.
And yeah, they said Max got penalized. He's like, great. And he's like, you're getting penalized. Not great.
Yeah, I guess Max apologized afterwards, according to Piastri. The one thing he's got to learn being a younger driver, don't let that door open
Yeah.
three-quarters of the way because somebody's going to take it.
Because he'll go for it. There's a lot of drivers that would go for it.
And if you're going to potentially fight for a world championship at some point, you're gonna have to make that move. And I think it's on both of them. Max being impatient,
Yeah.
yes. Piastri closing the door with a
Or
ton of
he
track
left
to
the
his
door
outside.
just open enough to consider the move.
Yeah, and he could have survived it too by run a little bit wider. Yeah, maybe give up the spot, but you don't go all the way to the back of the field.
The other interesting thing was Leclerc starts 19th after a
Yeah, what a ride.
10 position penalty up to P8 after the first lap.
Well, what, three spins and
Yeah, well, did you see like
six hit cars?
they published the in-car of him and he was just late braking everybody. He'd come up to a turn on the outside and late brake and go past three cars. And it's like, how did you make that stick on lap one?
Yeah, what he was doing was crazy. And the
And
fact he got
then
onto the
finishes on
podium.
the podium. He worked his way from 19th to third.
Yeah, you don't see that too much in F1 these days.
No. I mean, didn't
Plus,
Max start at 16th and win this year or something like
yeah,
that?
that was what, Brazil?
Was that? Oh yeah, that's right. That wasn't that long ago. Feels
That
like it was.
was
It
of
felt
its
like.
own race. And Leclerc pulled off a double podium this weekend.
Oh yes.
Finished what,
Huh.
P3 in the Grand Prix and then
Yeah.
finished
Well,
second to Sunny Hayes.
yeah, he loses out. Yeah, he loses out to Sonny Hayes.
Wait, who are we talking about? That is the Brad Pitt movie that they've been filming on location all around the
And
world for the
everybody's
last two
been,
years.
they're filming it out in the open, so all the footage is getting filmed on camera. So it's like we're piecing this movie together from Instagram and TikTok posts,
Yeah, we see Sunny Hayes pass out, getting out of a car after a wreck and not getting run over by a safety car.
and then runs. Then he wins the finale, and they bring Claire and George Russell up to be his on his podium. Like, here's a fake trophy for each of you, and like you could just see the face of both of them. Like, yeah, they're trying to like, they're not actors, obviously. They're drivers. And they're trying to like not ruin the movie, but you could just see on Leclerc's face like part of him dying as he's up there celebrating his podium finish in this
So I
fake
want to
race.
know, were they told they had to go do this? Were they requested by like the directors or Brad Pitt?
No,
Did they
oh,
want to be a part of
they
this?
were told they had to do it, but the question is how much notice did they get is what I want to know.
Probably not much because it was right after.
Yeah, it's too funny. It's just how this, like, you said it the other week. This movie's either going to be amazing or it's just going to be like worse than Driven. And
It's funny, right after we talk about that, I'm watching another content person on Break Hard, and he's saying the same thing, Driven. Like, we just talked about this. I don't know, maybe he's watching our show. I don't know.
yeah, he could be
If you
ripping
are,
us off.
come join us.
I mean, it kind of has that feel at the end of Driven. You have like the premise that they've hinted is that, Brad Pitt is like, he's 60 or he's close to 60, isn't he?
Yeah, he's getting up there in age
Yeah, I
now.
think he's like almost 60 at this point. And he's like brought out of retirement to help this young gun who's struggling to bring him along. It's like, oh my God, this is the plot of Driven. Like
He
that
is
was
60.
Stallone. Yeah, that was Stallone's role in Driven is they brought him out to help the young hotshot who is dealing with the yips, like get back under control before he destroys his career. But then, at the end of Driven, it's like, if you haven't seen it by now, I don't care. I'm not ruining. This movie came out in what, 99 or something like
I
that.
think
90.
we were like high school.
Yeah, this is
So
like
yeah,
99, 2000, something like that. Maybe 98. So, he has a chance to win and he backs off, like his wheel falls off. Stallone's wheel falls off, and he ends
we
up
were close.
letting, yeah,
2001.
really? I didn't realize it was a turn of the century thing, but the thing is, they used Chicago Motor Speedway, and I completely forgot that that actually was a real place briefly. Like it was open for like 3 years. It's a Walmart now. It's off of I-55, fairly close. The property is fairly close to like where Midway Airport is in Chicago. And it was this oval that they used for like kart, and I think the truck series went there like once or twice. And I think Chip Ganassi may have like owned it or helped finance it or something, but it just was this huge flop that it was like 10 minutes out of Chicago. And then, they build Chicagoland out in Joliet that opened in 2001 or so, and it just failed. But when they do this movie and they're like Chicago Speedway, I'm like, Chicago Speedway. I'm like, wait, that was a real
What is that
place
thing?
briefly. Anyway, but like Stallone finishes third, and the young gun wins the championship. But in this one, Sonny Hayes wins the finale, and they make poor Charles Leclerc, who lost the constructors title, have to go back out onto the podium and celebrate his fake podium, and
It's gonna
part
be
of
one
him
of those.
died.
I'm gonna have to go see the movie just because we've watched it filmed the entire way.
Yeah, and people are throwing a fit, like they're filming it out in the open, and like we like can kind of piece together what happened, and someone goes, well, you know, when Titanic was made, I mean, you kind of already knew what was going to happen in that, and you still went and saw it anyway. A lot of people went and saw it anyway.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it does at the box office. Be one of the few movies that we track.
I mean, and Lewis Hamilton is a producer for this movie, and they said like Jerry Bruckheimer has said, and we've said this before, Bruckheimer's had a pretty successful career making movies. Like he hasn't had too many duds on his record. And then you have Lewis Hamilton out there like that's not how it really works. That's not how it really works. But the thing is that part of the reason why Hollywood works is because it's inaccurate. Because like the timing of this could never work in real life. Like you can't get from this part of, a movie taking place in Chicago. You can't get from this part of the city to this part in 5 minutes. But that was like a core plot piece, and you make it too realistic, is it going to be too boring? Like this is kind of my thought about that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they take the story of Driven, put it into F1 and make it entertaining.
And give a middle fingers to Sylvester Stallone, who wanted to make a Formula One movie but was denied.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see how it turns out. Most of filming should be completed now, so
It should be
see how it
close,
goes.
yeah. So if you haven't noticed, I am not in my racing chair. I have a new chair. And the reason for that is I actually went shopping on Extreme Sim Racing over Black Friday and bought the ESR 3.0 without a seat. And I moved the seat over onto actually have a permanent sim rig now. So no more having to drag the desk chair up and put in locks. And I tell you what, the feeling of pushing your brake and knowing your chair's not sliding, even just like a little bit, or the chair rotating, such an amazing feeling.
Yes.
So hopefully you get yourself situated soon that you can do the same.
It's
And
funny you're upgrading and I think I'm downgrading.
the thing is, I wasn't planning on doing this, and it's just like I'm like that's too good to pass up.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
planning on upgrading monitors, but nope.
no,
I'm on a smaller one now because my bigger one won't stay on. We had that issue. Oh, excuse me, during the season.
now your hard drive's maxed out. We'll kind of get you back on
And
track here.
I got that squared away, so I'm set. I'm back up and
Oh,
running.
oh, good. Well, that's
That
good.
smaller desk, single monitor, so it's fun trying to run multiple things at once.
All right. So also on the shopping, so my kids bought me my Christmas present, and it's sitting right here. And yes, I know. They one, they don't know that they bought me this for Christmas yet. And two, I've already prefaced that I was going to be doing this. So I have to unveil here. I said if I get the if the plus 1200 hits, I was gonna have to get the diecast. And I did. I got the 124 scale Logano, and it's signed. So Joey Logano, I spent half my winnings on that. Got my certificate of authenticity somewhere in here.
And if you're able to get it and still be money ahead,
I am
well
still
worth it.
over $100 ahead after buying that. I got it right after, and they got my Joey Logano certificate of authenticity right here that he really did that. He's had a busy couple of weeks since winning again, and they had the award ceremony right after. He was just on a plane to Ford and doing his rounds at Ford, which Blaney did the same thing last year after he won. He went up and did his like a day or two in the Ford factories, and which is cool. I'm sure the other manufacturer drivers do this, but like Ford when they've won, and at least in recent years, maybe it had been a while before Logano from what I remember. But they'd fly him up to Dearborn. Yeah, they'd do their meet and greets with the executives, as you might expect. But then they'd go through some of the offices, through the factories, and see some of the people that were involved in building these cars and designing these cars at Ford, and these unsung heroes of the sport. And I thought that's really cool. And it's like I hope the other manufacturers do that
I'm
because
sure they all do
yeah,
something similar.
yeah, I think so. But that's really cool that you have a small hand in designing something on the next gen, and all of a sudden the guy who won the championship comes walking through your office one day.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see. Historically, looks like early January, any adjustments NASCAR has done here recently. It's when they'll be announced. We
Did
haven't
hear
really
some rumors on the Xfinity car
full,
that they'll
we
be
haven't fully
making.
touched on it, but a lot of controversy on the playoffs too.
Yeah, well, they haven't really changed anything.
Yeah, I doubt they will.
I don't think so. I mean, the what's his face from NASCAR was kind of like this brought exciting racing, and the elimination races are super exciting, and that right there is a sign of nothing is going to change.
If anything, I forget who tossed out the idea, but I don't mind it. First race, let's make that like the wild card. Let's do it like baseball or something like that. You have your points from the regular season that carry over, so it carries a lot of weight. Your top 12 move on, and then it's 3 rounds of elimination races. Same thing for a title. You got to have three great races, not just one.
Yeah, I mean, and part of the reason why some of these guys have been really successful in getting to the champion. I mean, you get to the championship before it's a crapshoot. Who has the best day at Phoenix? But you look at some of these guys and some of these teams that repeatedly end up there. Yeah, it's because they know how to play that game now, and it's like, okay, I got in, I got my win. Look at Logano this year. He's out. Bowman gets disqualified. So what does he do? He comes out the next week. He wins in Las Vegas. He secures first race. He's locked into the championship for. So what does he do the next two?
He just
He's
shows up
there.
to that.
He's there. That's about it. Because he didn't need to do anything. Like, you criticize him, but it's like, why? Why would he risk that? Like, those are the rules of the game. You
And
don't
that's
like
what I,
them, and
that's
that's
my
the problem.
part.
That is the problem. Is that the rules kind of stink. Like he's really, really good at the rules as is, but the rules stink.
If we need content somewhere else, we can dive in deeper. But
Yeah,
played the
it's the
game,
end of the year show, so
covering lots of stuff.
it's like the senioritis. Yeah, what was the line from Superbad? Just drilling holes last 2 weeks. F it.
It's funny. You got your Joey Logano autograph over the Black Friday, picked up some of the IndyCar trading cards and opened up that
That's
guy.
right. That's right. You did mention that. You got your autographed New Garden card.
Yeah, it's really funny. I finally got to my parents' house, picked up Andy Amendola's book, um, Joseph's
Big dream.
Big Dream, and I'm still having a hard time breathing. I've
Yeah, you
been
can
fighting
tell.
bronchitis from Road Racer books, and it's like, sweet, I finally got a Joseph Newgarden autograph. So I get the box of cards, and I'm thinking to myself, this is
Got
gonna be hilarious if I get a Newgarden autograph in here and have two in a matter of days. And just going through it.
There you
No
go.
way, I did it.
So there
So I
you
text
go.
Andy, you and Andy like, what have I found?
I say compare the signatures. We know one's absolutely legit.
Yeah, one was kind of signed in the living room
I
there.
mean, you were texting the certificate of authenticity.
Yeah,
All
don't
right,
worry,
so
they compare.
yeah, I know it was
I might
absolutely
have
legit.
to be a de facto Joseph Newgarden fan now. Got a diecast of his book, autograph card. Need a shirt and hat now.
Let's say we're becoming like yeah, here I am wearing a Red Bull shirt, walking around going Penske, 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 Hendrick. It's like, why don't you go root for Spire if you have any courage? Or Rick Ware.
Legacy.
Yeah, actually, my brother was cheering for Eric Jones. He's like, I felt bad for him. Like, he was struggling out there. I was cheering for Eric Jones. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, since I'm up here in Michigan now, I'd low key root for him. He's from Michigan.
You got,
Same with
you,
Keselowski.
the best say you could root for Brad, RFK. Oh, man, that lawsuit is such a mess.
That thing is all over the place.
I don't think either side anticipated it was going to get this messy this quickly.
No, and then it's gonna be hilarious if they end up front row in 2311 with one charter spot and two open spots each. Because the charters that they're buying were already signed by the previous owner.
Oh, that's right.
So it'll be fun to see how that plays out too.
That's right. Oh, man. What weird times we have.
Yeah.
Uh,
No resolution on that yet. We may not even hear anything before Daytona.
I highly doubt it. Could you imagine though if I mean it's you have to worry more for front row than you at probably with 2311. It's like, yeah, you could botch a qualifying run, but yeah, you've got the Jordan brand behind 2311. I mean, front row, Bob Jenkins, not the late legendary announcer Bob Jenkins, but a different Bob Jenkins. He's like there's not a lot out there about him. But my understanding is he owns like franchised restaurants all over the country and has like hundreds, if not maybe even into the thousands of restaurants he owns. He's just like a franchise guy. And, but it's like I mean he's well off. He owns a Cup Series team with multiple charters.
I wouldn't be surprised too if the Jordan brand is helping out the majority of it,
Oh yeah.
that
Yeah,
they were willing to go along with them. And as long as they were willing, that other side maybe didn't matter as much. I mean, Jordan brand alone probably rivals NASCAR.
okay. All right, so I was off on the thousands part, but although this is very dated, so who knows what the actual number is. Yeah, this is like a 10-year-old statement, 10, 12-year-old statement. But as of 2013, he owns, quote, more than 250 franchises, including KFC, Taco Bell, Long John Silver's, and A&W. He also owns Morristown Driver Services, a full service logistics provider specializing in all phases of transportation management. And
It's
his,
money right there.
yeah, and his family owns Jenkins Insurance in Dandridge, Tennessee, which I'm guessing that's probably like an independent agency, maybe.
Well, and that's why you see combinations of those restaurant chains
Yeah, yeah,
together all over the
because
place.
well, and two, Todd Gilliland had the Long John Silvers on numerous, so yeah, there was I forget which car it was, but one of the kind of part-time rides had an Arby's car at Bristol. You remember that in the fall race?
Yeah, it's been a while. I
Yeah,
probably
so
saw it, but I
yeah,
don't
so
remember it.
so there was an Arby's car, but apparently it was not Arby's corporate who sponsored it. It was an Arby's franchise owner, which is interesting because I wonder too if Bob Jenkins, if that's the same thing that is Long John Silver's franchise sponsored him versus corporate. But
Could be.
that leaves an interesting thing where you have a franchisee sponsoring a NASCAR, putting your brand on there. And you have to wonder, like, what you have to go through to get that approved. Because I don't think, like, you go and franchise a restaurant, you're not going to go up like, yeah, I'm going to put McDonald's on the front of this car. Yeah, right. That would never happen in a million years.
Be interested to see what the language is in the franchise contract.
But yeah, thought that was kind of interesting. It's like, how is this? You got Arby's behind you. Like, no, you have an Arby's franchise owner behind you. Anyway, um, we did want to get into IndyCar briefly. That the seats are starting to fill, and it's a little underwhelming.
There's 3 seats left. One I was actually surprised at. That's the second seat at Yonkos.
Yeah, yeah, because they got Stingray Rob, which that was he's bringing a giant check with him, and
He's pairing up with nobody, which also means Romain Grosjean is available.
that's surprising. I mean, that's uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, and then on
There are
top,
some good drivers without a ride right now.
yeah, yes, there are. But then you
Rinus
look
VeeKay
at
is one of them. Connor
who
Daly.
who signed at Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan.
My favorite driver,
Devlin.
Devlin D. Francesco.
I remember at the end of the previous season, they were like clearancing all his stuff on the IndyCar website, and I'm like,
It's
really?
still on
Like,
clearance. It's there.
yeah, yeah. It's like you could get a sign that said like D Francisco Drive. It looked like a road sign. It was like $1.95. I'm like, sell a lot of those. But hey,
Yeah,
I
I saw
mean,
that sign come through and say, "What?"
he hasn't been like the only time he was in the news in the last year before this signing was when was it Chip Ganassi killed his dog, ran over his dog?
Yeah,
It was Ganassi, wasn't it? I'm not misremembering that.
yeah. I think dog got loose. Ganassi hit it.
I mean, that's
It
terrible, but
was what an endurance race
it
weekend
was
was
that
it?
Rolex 24, I think.
Was it?
I think so.
Yeah, he's been doing like endurance stuff, so he's been driving.
Yeah, he did it shortly before the start of the Rolex 24.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you're at Ray Hall, could you just not get other drivers for the right price to fill a seat? Or we know DeFrancesco brings money, but all the money he brings, it's gonna be going to fix cars.
Did he really wreck a lot? I mean, I know he was slow and was running in the back a lot, but he wasn't like
The
Logan
one
Sargent.
the one that really stood out to me was the Texas race. He
Yeah,
was
yeah,
literally responsible for 7 cars exiting that race
yeah. Yeah. Forgot about that.
with spins or trying to avoid him and creating problems.
Speaking of Logan Sargent, I thought I saw he was going to end up in maybe a WEC ride.
Yeah, yes. And other interesting news, Bottas was approached by IndyCar teams.
And
He's not
rightfully
ready to do
so.
it this year, because he still wants to see what goes with 2025, but I guess it's not necessarily ruled out for 26, and a 2025 Indy 500 appearance may not be too far out of the question.
I would be all for that. You
That
find a way to get into the 500. That would be awesome.
Can you imagine having Larson and Bottas in the field together?
I
Well, they
mean,
kind of
if it
touched on it.
wasn't for Daniel Ricciardo's fear of ovals, you could bring him in there too. Could you imagine that? That's
Let's get Sergeant Ricardo, Bottas.
just you've already got Marcus Ericsson, you've got Alexander Rossi, you got maybe Grosjean finds a ride. Let's get all the F1 cast offs and put it into the 500
Let's
because
get
that's
Perez over to that Nicholas Hall in their seat.
Yeah, but because it's like, that's what IndyCar needs. Get all the F1 cast-offs, and that'll help its reputation on the world stage.
We just touched on it. Would that actually be a bad thing if that happened? Because those drivers all have a massive following. And
No,
looking
but
at the
it's
current Indy lineup, there's no star power.
there is not any. I mean, there's very, very little star power in IndyCar right now, and from a attention standpoint, in the short term, maybe the long term, yeah, it's a good thing. But IndyCar's reputation in the world, I mean, Formula One fans are already like, we're
Oh, it's
the
IndyCar.
you little juniors, you little junior racers driving in your circles. It's
The rest of the world more or less looks down on IndyCar.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the stereotypical One fan. I'm not saying like there are plenty of Formula One fans that respect IndyCar and what it does and how different it is, but there are a good portion of Formula One fans that look down on IndyCar, that think it's some second rate series. And when you have somebody like Marcus Ericsson who gets, is he really cast off from Formula One? I mean, I guess he was. Was he really there long enough to even be considered a cast off? I don't know. I'm kind of drawing a blank here on that. I probably should have looked that up first before I made this statement. But this guy comes out and wins, the most prestigious race in the world. Does that, help the reputation of IndyCar? Knowing that this guy couldn't, hack it in Formula One, and then he comes out and wins, your pride and joy race of your schedule,
I think
which,
really the biggest argument that we have on it, it's 50 years ago now, is still Mario.
yeah.
Maybe you could go Juan Pablo Montoya,
So Marcus Ericsson made 97 starts between 2014 and 2018 in Formula One,
about
and
four
scored
seasons.
scored 18 points, driving for Caterham and then Sauber, which,
'They had a great year. 4 points.
I'm trying to remember if Caterham was that team. So there was like one team in Formula One that folded, and like they just like abandoned their facility. And I want to say it was in the UK. And one of those like urban explorers went through it, like broke into the facility, and there's still like parts on the shelves and like tires and notes. And it's just like they one day decided we're closing, and everybody just like got up and left their stuff and just never came back.
It's wild. Hey, yeah, looking at the lineup and looking at it earlier here today, it's like, wow.
Yeah, it's not a lot of excitement.
Like just looking at it on
Yeah,
paper,
it was Caterham. Yeah, there's a video. If you look up the Caterham F1 factory, this guy like went through the building in 2021, or he put out the video in 2021. And yeah, it's just like just stuff left behind.
looking at it, I could see your standard about 4 or 5 drivers up at the front, and then it really doesn't matter who else is there.
I mean, you've got three strong drivers at Penske between Newgarden, McLaughlin, and Power.
Hmm.
You've got two Ganassi. I mean, obviously Pillow is your reigning champion.
Dixon was so-so last year.
Dixon, yeah, Dixon was so. I mean, I
Still the Iceman at
sound like,
what,
yeah,
one,
I'm
two, or
sound like I'm
three.
crapping on the guy. He's washed. He's not washed, but he didn't have a great season. And
He
I mean,
was either at the front or a broken car.
yeah. I mean, he was one of the first victims of the hybrid system crapping out
Yeah, Mid Ohio.
mid Ohio. Yeah, it's who's the third? Is it Kiffin Simpson in the third
Yeah,
car?
I am glad that Marcus Armstrong got a ride.
Where's
I
he
forget.
going? I forget.
He's at Meyershank.
Meyershank. That's right. Oh, he's with Malukas.
Lucas
Or
is
no, no, not
uh,
Malukas. Jeez, Malukas
Foyt.
left there already. He went to Foyt. Yeah, it's
It
gonna be
was
hit.
Wilst.
Can you imagine Malukas and Santino Ferucci working together?
If it was done right and they could have some success on track, that would be a marketing dream
Yeah,
deal.
I mean that's what it is. Is that Ferucci is the bad boy, and Malukas is this. He's got like the closest thing to like Gen Z relatability out of anybody in IndyCar. And it's like if you could do this like tandem good cop bad cop thing between the two of them, yeah, if done right, that could be amazing.
Yeah, that could be fun just for Team Foyt.
And Foyt should be better. I mean, they have their was a Ganassi alliance. That's a very That's probably one of your most interesting storylines to watch to see what happens with that team because Ferucci at times looked brilliant out there if he wasn't making somebody really upset with his overly aggressive moves.
He was watching Jimmy Johnson learn how to race.
Well, I mean, he's always been aggressive, let's be honest.
Yes.
Every series he's ever been in, he's made somebody mad with how aggressive he is.
If you watch a restart on fresh tires, if there's one car that's going to be making moves, keep your eye on him
Yeah, I
because
mean, he
he
did it
will.
at Milwaukee, and I mean, 2 years ago he podiumed at Indy. And then Malukas, he's had flashes of brilliance too, but in his uh Errol McLaren career was derailed with his broken wrist.
Yeah, it's still unfortunate, but you got to take care of yourself in the off season too.
Yeah, well, it's just a freak accident. He gave an interview not that long ago, and what was his first thought after he broke his wrist? Oh man, Zach Brown's gonna kill me. Nope, he's just gonna fire you.
Yeah. And yeah. After that, then you have what, Colton Herta.
Which
We'll see how the
is
McLaren guys go.
Colton Herta's name has come up in some interesting story possibilities.
Could get linked over to Cadillac in 2026.
He's got to get a
One more year
super.
in IndyCar.
He's got to qualify for that. I mean, he did qualify this year for the super license, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought by scoring second in the championship
Yeah,
that
that's
gave
right.
him the
Yes, he did
points.
make it.
And Mario is the president of the board or
Yeah, he's like
something.
a
So,
non-executive advisor to the board or something like that. Is yeah, it's some.
so that's paving the way for Herta to move to Formula One. Pato Ward did the test on Monday with McLaren.
Thing is, McLaren's set for a while. If you think you're going to work your way into F1, I mean, yeah, obviously things can change, and
I think that's what frustrated Pillow.
yeah,
He
that's
was never
exactly
going to
what
get
it
a
did.
seat.
He knew he had no shot. That's where now he's got to go to court. Man, Zach Brown is ruthless. But hey, you know what? You can't argue with results.
If you find a successful business person, they're all ruthless.
Yeah, yeah.
They may be the nicest person you meet, but when it comes down to business, I would not want to cross paths.
It's there's a movie I like. The founder. It's the story of Ray Kroc, and now he kind of not kind of screwed over the McDonald's brothers, and basically created the McDonald's that it is today. And he's like fighting with the brothers, and he said that business is ruthless, and he said if my competitor was drowning, I would go over there and I'd shove a garden hose down his throat and watch him drown. And he said, "Would you?" He said to the McDonald brothers, "He goes, would you do that?" And they said, "No, we wouldn't." And I mean, that's exactly how he ran his business.
Hey, you let this business survive, it takes away $2 billion a year revenue.
Man,
pretty
Uh,
much the moral of that story.
yeah,
But business, and
it
it's
is
what we're
business. It's
seeing.
business, and it sucks at times, and it's unfair, but you know.
And we were texting on this. That's business of racing right now. Who brings the check?
And I was talking to actually your wife. She went to University of Central Florida, didn't she?
Yep.
So University of Central Florida got walked out on a few years ago by their head coach Scott Frost, who was their most successful coach, and he went back to his alma mater in Nebraska, and it did not work out, and he got fired. So UCF never recovers from that. They need
Their
a new
coach
coach.
did
So who do
pretty
they call?
good.
They call Scott Frost, and he takes the job and comes back. And my friend's like, he's throwing some profanities around. That guy, he's like, he screwed us over. I'm like, you know what? Like, you got to look at it from both sides here because yeah, he walked out because it was his alma mater. It wasn't like he just chased a check. He had an opportunity to go coach his alma mater. One, two. If he had four great seasons and then the next year he goes 1-11, everybody's going to be calling for his head because there's no opportunity. I mean, Mike Gundy has been at Oklahoma State for years now and had an atrocious year this year. I think it might have been one of his worst years ever since he's been. I mean, he's been there since like what, 2002 ish.
Yeah, he was there since we were in
He's
college.
he's
So
been
it's been a
there.
while.
He's been there a long time, and he goes 3-9 this year. Doesn't get fired, but they restructured his deal. And it's like this guy's put in 20 years of pretty successful football for your school with numerous bowl trips. I don't think he's ever won any conferences that I can recall. Maybe he did. But it's just like
No, I
one
don't think so.
one bad year. I mean, well, and he had to deal with Oklahoma and Texas year after year uh, until this year. And then Arizona State comes in and wins the Big 12.
But hey, he's a man. He's 40 plus now.
Now he's 50 plus now.
I'm a man.
I mean, that's the only part about turning 40 that I'm looking forward to. He's going, oh man, I'm 40. He's a man. He's almost 60. He's 57.
That's such a great rant in that interview. Still lives on.
Yeah, he turns 58 this year. Man, that's wild.
Yeah, that's
He's been the
college
head
football.
coach.
It's big business.
Okay, so he got to Oklahoma State in 2001 as a associate head coach, but he became the head coach in 2005. And he's gone 169 and 88 and has a 12-6 bowl record. And his first year he went 4-7 and 1-7 in conference. And then after that, it's been winning record until this year when he went 3-9 and 0-9 in conference. And
That bowl record is what's been keeping him.
yeah,
12-6 bowl, that means you're going.
I mean that
You're bringing
that
in lots of
uh
money.
that restructuring of the contract is the like we know what you've done for us and you've been here a long time, but might be time for a change soon if you don't turn this around quickly. And it's the same thing. Like this is how sports has become. If you don't win now, if you don't perform now, if you're not getting race wins, if you're not getting on that podium, even if you're getting on that podium, Carlos Sainz has been on the podium a pretty decent amount for Ferrari. Granted, they're replacing him with Lewis Hamilton, but they didn't even think twice.
Yep. It's crazy world. And even in my spot, I see a lot of it. It's not
Sauber
revolving around the money, but it's still there.
Sauber has an absolutely atrocious car. You have arguably one of the best Formula One wingmen ever driving your atrocious car, not get any points, and out the door.
Yep.
Perform. That's it. You don't perform, we find somebody else who will.
Give a car that's capable of performing too is
Yeah.
the biggest question.
Yeah, and you look at it like Alpine, they didn't even give their previous team principal a chance to establish himself, establish his people. He's like, I don't even have my full team here and they're already firing me. I mean, they
Yeah,
had
you have
an
to,
amazing turnaround this year. Out we were making fun of them just how bad they were the first couple of weeks, and They have the double podium, which weather and a little bit of strategy and luck helped with that. But I
That's why
mean,
it really saved their season.
Gasly was up there with the front group, and Pierre Gasly has the honor of doing $0 in damage for a 24 race season.
And damage that was caused by him.
Yes,
His car did take some damage throughout the course of the season.
yes,
Just
caused by
he
him. Thank
wasn't
you.
at fault.
Yes, nobody else has ever done that.
Which is wild to think. I kind of like to see the raw numbers of how much damage did you do to your car, your fault or not.
Right.
What's amazing to me is Perez won that at nearly $5 million.
I don't know, Franco Colapinto. If he'd been around the full season, he might.
If you look at the Williams season total of all their drivers, they were at 9 million. And I think Colapinto racks up double digits.
It said most of Checo's damage was caused by the accident at Monaco.
And he got pinched. Didn't he get pinched by both Haas cars?
Mm-hmm. Yikes. Logan Sargent's crash at Zandvoort cost Williams an estimated $1.7 million. I have to say, so Max Verstappen will be expecting his first child next year. And he was asked about having 8 penalty points going in to next season. And he said, maybe I'll get those last couple around the time the baby's born, and then I'll take some paternity leave.
Yep.
It's so awesome.
One rumor out there
He's
too is that if he had kids, he'd retire.
It's really crazy that I mean, honestly, like it's to the point where I believe that if Max retired from real racing and he could just sit around his home and just drive on his simulator and just do that and make enough money to live the way he wants to live, I think he would
He,
do it.
I think he's already got enough money to do what he wants, and he's gonna have sponsorships and other stuff going. I'm sure Heineken pays him a handsome figure.
I do like the commercial where he keeps getting stuck being the designated driver until he's like, I'm drinking a Heineken. And then as they're driving off and leaving, he turns around, it's a Heineken Zero.
I think he would have more fun just hanging out with the kids at home in sim racing.
See,
And
the thing about why that commercial is not believable is, do you really think Max Verstappen would go out with a group to a bar and go drinking? No, not a chance.
I don't know.
I don't think he would. I
Did you hear Lando's comment after Abu Dhabi?
No.
He's like, me and her, Zach and I, we're going out, we're getting effed up.
Oh man, isn't it amazing the McLaren's turnaround in 2 years, where
Well, we were ripping on them at
they
the
were
start of last
they were
season.
just awful at the start of last season,
They were
and
fighting for 19th place.
and you're talking about Piastri going the same way as Nick DeVries and getting just sent out the door after half a season, and
Yeah, after 6 races, we're like, is he gonna get fired here by halfway?
nope, nope, that
And they slowly
switch.
started moving up, and by the end of the season, they were hauling.
And even after they had the flex wing, the rear wing that they got banned. They had a little bit of a setback on that, but they were fine. Very interesting going into next year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much teams put into the car because there'll be a new car coming the year after.
Haven't some of the teams kind of hinted already that they're already just gonna scrap the 25 season and just whatever in prep for 26? I feel like at least one or two of the teams have hinted that already.
Some of the back markers, I think you have to. You got to find a way to use that money to get ahead.
Yeah, so you're gonna see Williams and Sauber. And Sauber is gonna become Audi in 26. They'll be battling for 4 points for the year.
And there will be another team to fight for points with. And it is confirmed Ferrari will supply the engines to Cadillac
Yeah, that's funny. The
through what,
Ferrari.
2028?
It's gonna be hilarious that you have a Ferrari Cadillac.
Something seems wrong with that.
Isn't like with how all the mergers have come together, isn't Ferrari technically under the Stellantis umbrella now?
Yeah, I think so.
So you have a under the same umbrella, you have a Chrysler company providing providing engines to Cadillac, the fancy, the gold standard of General Motors, which speaking of Cadillac,
They need to go into
they
NASCAR.
need to go into NASCAR. Those concept drawings are so cool.
That way we also don't have a Chevrolet.
Oh, we're having the Chevrolet next year. I think that's confirmed. The Chevrolet. Yeah.
I don't get why they just couldn't keep the Camaro. It's the same
I
body.
like I'm you see these car companies are shifting their strategy because people want SUVs, they want trucks. Um, they overestimated the how quickly people wanted EVs, and like it's like, would I like to drive an EV? Yeah, sure. But the two things that are preventing me from buying an EV are I mean, cost. Yeah, I mean, some
Yep,
the
that's
nicer ones
one.
are still too expensive. But like, even you look at like the Nissan Leaf, for example, which is like one of the cheaper EVs of a known company, or even a Tesla Model 3 are not that expensive, relatively speaking. But my two problems with the EVs are the range is not good enough, and the charging time is just too long.
If I need a in-town put-around vehicle,
Yeah,
yeah, sure, maybe. I
yeah,
wouldn't.
it's they're
I'd
they're
look at it
good.
maybe,
They're good commuting vehicles.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I'd
that's
like
about
to
it.
travel, and I want to drive more than 3 hours on a charge and not sit for an hour and a half.
For 2 hours and then pay like $70 at a charging station, which like
I
that's
want to
just
stop for
straight
10
wrong.
minutes, fill up the gas, and go.
I've kind of set a standard. I said I will not consider buying an EV until the range is over 500 miles standard, and the charging a 90% charging time is less than 10 minutes. Because if those who look at battery charging, you fast charge, and as you get close to 100%, you slow down and you trickle charge as you get that last little chunk in there. And it's like, you're trying to get somewhere, you fast charge, you get up into the 90s, you go.
Yeah, it's
Fine.
fine.
Yeah, that'll get you the rest of the way. Um, but I can't do 200 miles. I can't do 2 hours of charging. I can't do the costs.
Yeah, I can't go from
If you're
basically
charging,
Canada to the Gulf Coast.
if you're charging at home, yeah, you can save a crap load of money charging at home. But yeah, if you have to charge on the road, I have a friend who has an EV, and they post the receipt of like when they start, Electrification America or whatever it's called, and they post their receipts, and they're just like, that's like double what it would have been to fill up your gas tank. But
I
yeah,
like
if
how
you're
they
if
talk
you're
about
just
how it's cheaper, but it's like, no, you're still paying for that electric.
yeah, but
And
like
electric still has to be generated somehow.
yeah, but I mean it's per unit, it's not much.
Now, I would look at a hybrid.
Yeah, I would too. But you back to the original point is that these car companies said people don't want to buy gas powered sedans. They don't even want to buy hybrid sedans, allegedly. Toyota disagrees with that. Honda disagrees with that. Hyundai disagrees with that. Does Kia still make cars?
Yeah,
So Kia, I mean Kia,
they've gotten a
Hyundai,
lot better at their cars.
yeah, those two are the same. They're the same company actually, same parent company. But you look at the GM, the Chrysler, Stellantis, Ford side of the world. Ford got out of the business because when you think of Ford, you think of the Mustang, which they said
Truck and
they're still going
Mustang.
to make the Mustang. You think of F-150s, you think of Explorers, Broncos, SUVs. That's what they want to be proficient in. Fine, fair. GM is like, we're done with cars. But it's like outside of Cadillac, is there really they don't have an iconic brand that stands out really that I can think of.
The only thing under that whole branch would be Chevy Camaro.
Which they're not making anymore.
Nope.
I mean, quick off the top of your head, what's a Chevy vehicle outside of the Camaro or the Malibu?
Lumina, Monte Carlo.
No, no, that they still make today. That doesn't count.
Um, and those are the ones that come to mind. I think there's one, but I can't even place it.
I'm thinking of like the Chevy Traverse. Like that's the only, and I don't even know what a Chevy Traverse is. I think it's an SUV, but
It
I hear
is.
commercials for it.
It's basically the Traverse is GMC.
Is
It's
it?
the equivalent to a Chevy Equinox.
Okay. Is it Traverse GMC? Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was a. Okay, so even then, I don't even get that right. I mean, I get things wrong all the time. Okay, so looking at Chevy's brands right now, you've
Malibu is
got.
the only one that's going to stay.
Oh no, the Malibu is done after next year.
Oh, so then they're done.
They are done with cars for now, and they're going to be going on trucks, SUVs, and EV, just like Ford. But Ford's
The
still going to
electric
make the Mustang.
trucks and Jeeps I see out there, I
Yeah,
want
you
to
got the Trax, the
scream.
Trailblazer, the Equinox, the Blazer, the Blazer. They make the Blazer again? I didn't know that. Oh, the Suburban. How can you forget the Chevy Suburban and the Tahoe? No, no, Chevy's the Traverse. Equinox.
Trying
Yeah,
to
it's
think of
just
the
making me feel crazy. Wait, Chevy's website's really terrible.
Oh, I'm thinking terrain.
Yeah, that's right. So you look
So
at their
I'm an
trucks,
idiot.
you got the Silverado. That's like the truck that stands out to me. It's like you've got the Silverado, the F-150, and then the Ram, which that's just a brand now. It's not even the Dodge Ram, it's just the Ram.
Yeah,
But
it's gonna be hard to find.
they're still making cars in Europe though.
Yeah, you don't see SUVs and trucks over there. It's all cars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, gas is so stinking expensive.
Gas and smaller. Have fun
Plus,
parking
like,
in those F-150s.
I mean, you look at Europe though, it's like it's everything's land wise is more compact. Like you don't realize how small Europe is until you put like Texas over like continental Europe and it takes up like most of Europe. That's just Texas. But you got that, and you've got public transportation. It's it's way superior to our public transportation. I mean, you could take a train all over Europe. Who takes a train all over the United States?
Yeah, no.
Nobody.
Like Germany is the equivalent of about Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. You can drive through all three of those in a day.
Yeah,
And that's the
and
long way.
you could take the train and get through all of them in a very short time. Again, the original point of this was what you know what does Chevy do if they're getting out of the car business? Chevy's been a partner of NASCAR forever. And I mean, we've seen brands come and go. You had Plymouth was a big brand in NASCAR at one point.
You
Gone.
had Pontiac.
Pontiac, gone. Dodge has come and gone. There's a rumor there's a fourth OEM looking to break into NASCAR, which
Is it Hyundai?
I've heard Hyundai is kicking the tires, no pun intended on that. But
But yeah, what car do you market if you don't own or
right,
make
like
cars?
the whole thing of NASCAR, their whole thing was win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Like you win in the Chevrolet on Sunday. That's not going to inspire anybody to go out and buy. You're going to go out and buy a Traverse or a Trax or something. Like you got these guys who are putting up these concept drawings of a Cadillac CT5 NASCAR Cup Series car. Amazing.
Looks sleek.
It looks amazing. I mean, granted, I'm looking here right now. The 2025 CT5 V Series starts at 56,995. A little pricier than your your Camry, your Ford Mustang, your base Ford Mustang. But still,
There is the one car that we didn't mention that Chevy could go to, but it would look terrible.
what's that?
The Corvette.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So yes, we did not mention Corvette,
It
but
doesn't even like
I
have the
don't
same look that
I
like
don't
you
know
get at
how you
least a
would put that
CT5
in.
fits the stock car look.
It is closer to a sedan. And that's what they've typically run are all the sedan models. The Ford Taurus, the Impala, the Monte Carlo,
The
Lumina,
Lumina,
the Camry.
the Charger, these Chevy SS. Like I still think it'd be funny if they just put like a minivan branding on it. Just you're gonna call it the Chevrolet. Why don't you just call it the Suburban? Why
Put a
not?
name on it. What do you want to advertise?
That would
Yeah,
be
it'd be-
absurd if they just put like a random brand or changed it up like every week.
and then it
What?
carries over to the Xfinity series and ARCA. At least trucks is easy. They got Silverado.
Yeah, I mean that's not going anywhere. But yeah, it's like, what do you do?
Trucks will eventually become the NASCAR series.
We get the electric car. The electric NASCAR will become the standard. Be a
Jeez.
lot of upset people if that were to happen.
They tested the car in Chicago.
I mean, it's an interesting concept. Maybe put together a exhibition or something like that. But oof,
Yeah, at the
no,
end of the day, you're gonna lose too many fans if you ever try to go away from gas. Because that's part of what people like. They want to hear the engines and see the raw
yeah, just
speed
hearing that
and the noise.
like that just doesn't work.
And you kind of get that with IndyCar, but you're seeing speed, especially Indianapolis. You're watching cars go 240 on qualifying day. Oh, that's something.
Anyway, they got you know what? It's not my problem. It's not your problem. We'll just
If
make
you
fun
want
of
to
them.
pay me money to make it my problem, I
I mean, the answer's
take
already
it
there.
on.
As far as I'm concerned, the answer's already there. You get a Cadillac branding on there. I mean, the other thing too with Cadillac is that for years Cadillac struggled to break that image of we're the old person car.
You're a rich old person car.
Here, I'm a rich old person. I'm retiring, and what am I going to do after I retire? I'm going to buy myself a Cadillac Seville. And then they bring in the Escalade. Now the Escalade is like the cool, hip, trendy SUV that it's a big deal to drive the Escalade around. And it's like you want to keep taking steps away from breaking that I'm an old person, old rich person stereotype.
Get it down to NASCAR.
Bring it into
Break every
NASCAR.
stereotype.
There would be so much interest in that too. That you've got Cadillac in the sport. I mean, some of the traditionalists I'm sure would be a little upset, but honestly, would they be more upset about Chevrolet or Cadillac?
Want to see cars on track that you can go to a showroom and buy. Or just
Uh,
make it a spec series now and get away from that mantra. One of the two
mean, it kind of is, but
already is, but
that's for another day. Sounds like a 2025 problem to me.
yes.
All right, now this is we're wrapping up for 2024. We'll be back sometime in January, but before we close out, we are going to kind of recap and just kind of talk about some of the high points from this year. And I think the first thing that comes to mind right away in January is we hosted the our first ever charity race, and it was a massive success.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm looking forward to getting the next one put together.
We did have people asking, "Hey, when are you scheduling that?" Like soon, hopefully. But we're targeting early March this time around. There's a nice opening in the calendar where there's a couple weeks off for like Xfinity and Truck, and there's like a week off for Cup, I believe. That maybe we can snag a couple of pros come in and drive with us.
Yeah, January just ended up being really busy, especially with the 24 hours going on. And so looking at a small change.
Plus, we have not even started planning the event yet. I'll be completely honest with you. So there's zero chance that this. I mean, granted, we've done this already. We've got a lot of the base pieces figured out, but we still haven't reached out to sponsors for prizes and giveaways. That haven't even started yet. But yeah, we're targeting for March for year number two.
Another one that,
We raised $1,450. We almost forgot that part. That was the most
oh yeah,
important
it was
part.
good.
Gave away some amazing prizes. Uh, Actually, did you see? So Colton Gardner won one of the wheel stands, but he already has a rig, and ended up giving the wheel stand over to Chris Fuge. I'm like, wait a second. He posted a picture. I'm like, I remember that wheel stand. That was the one Colton won, wasn't it? He goes, it was.
That's awesome.
So there you go.
They're good
So
buddies too. So
yeah, oh yeah.
another fun one just recently here, seeing an endurance team take a podium finish. So it's great to get them up onto the
You you've
podium
been
for the
a,
first time.
you've been officially demoted to the B team.
I have openly said I will go to the B team.
I am on the F minus team, so you're doing much better on the B team than I am on the F minus team. So, um, I've been working a lot on fundamentals and having a fixed seat in place and not sliding around while I'm trying to brake. Is
Big difference.
it is hard enough to try to like do a proper trail brake when your seat's sliding or rotating around. So I mean, I'm not making excuses because there are plenty of good drivers in the iRacing world that can do it on a desk chair and sitting on carpet. And you know what? I'm not a good driver. I'm not. There's no denying that. But having the tools in place and the proper setup to not have to worry about those distractions, I think will be nice in the long run.
And having 5 seasons of league racing going on. We saw a big uptick this year in driver participation and drivers coming out to join.
And not having to spend a month recruiting uh, was huge because we'd have a couple people come and go every time. We always do, and we've got to the point where people are like, "Hey, I race in this. My friend, wants to come and join us now too." I'm like, "Awesome, very cool." So, uh, it's the recruiting is doing itself. Pardon me. Mute my
And it's
food.
just so awesome the community that's built up and being able to race everybody week in, week out. Even some that do both series have had the bumps and bruises along the way, but it's been a
Yeah,
really
some
good
a little
group
bit of
that
feuding here and there
mostly talk
happens.
about it and move on and have a great race next week.
And yeah, so we got actually technically I want to say 6 seasons if you count your SRX.
Yeah, the little mini season.
That worked. It wasn't a great participation in that, but I mean, I walked away with third place after
That
missing the
was
first race, so that was.
puking and hacking up a lung and didn't make it.
Yeah, we get ready for the third race and we're getting ready to take grid and we're in the Discord and I go, notice anyone missing tonight? And the response was, yeah, the guy who organized this.
Yeah, he's like dead with a migraine as well.
That's what I said. I said He's like, yeah, I'm not doing so hot. So
Yeah, I didn't even 40 minutes away. There's no point. Now, if we had money on it for a top three season finish, oh yeah, I would go
it
on
would
it.
have been you'd been the Michael Jordan flu game right there.
Yes, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
As a driver we raced with once said infamously, which is anyway. Yeah, so next year, it's more the same, at least in the front end. We'll be getting involved. We're still kind of finalizing some of the endurance pieces. It's our goal to field at least two teams in every official iRacing event. And if people want to jump in and do, they have the 3 hour weekly series or biweekly or whatever they are every couple of weeks. We want a presence there as well.
Oops. Yeah, those run every week. It'd be nice to have teams that cycle through. Definitely hitting all the special events. I think we pretty much got all of them this year, except maybe one. I think that was Nürburgring.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had participation there. I mean, Daytona was the big one. Road Atlanta,
Fielded most
Indianapolis,
recently Fuji. We had two teams
Fuji.
at Indianapolis.
I think we had an entry in Spa.
Yeah,
We,
that one
we
kind of fizzled, but
yeah, you're doing
it's
24-hour
gonna happen.
events. Sometimes that's going to happen. We did not do any kind of Le Mans, which I feel like, iRacing has a Le Mans event, but they don't have the license, so it's not an official event. But at Sebring, we did have, I believe we had participation in. So,
Yeah,
the goal is we want a minimum of two entries. And we're going to try to broadcast these. We're going to bring back the monthly race. Still to be determined on when that's going to be. It's not going to be Saturday morning. Um, I don't know. It might be a Sunday night.
yeah, we'll be looking at it and figure out where in the most participation is.
So yeah, we're working on that. Um, Wednesday night dash is kind of humming now. We made some slight modifications to the rules to just kind of clean some things up, but generally nothing's changing there. We're payouts to the top five drivers. We announced that instead of the top three, larger series. Going to give people a better chance to get into the payments on the weekly basis. And we did the math, and if we would have run a top five payment instead of a top three, at least 60% of our drivers would have received
At least
multiple
something.
payouts. Yeah. So yeah, it's looking to try to make it competitive, but try to make it fun. It's Wednesday Night Dash was originally started as a developmental league. It is not a developmental league anymore.
It's definitely stepped its game up. And once we see what happens with the ARCA car and iRacing development, that could potentially turn into the car we use for a development league.
Yeah. So we just Wednesday Night Dash is matured. There's obviously always continuous improvement that's going to go on, but it took I would say this season was probably the first, like, we'll call it the true mature season of the series. It took 11 seasons. Indy's, getting there. It's not going to take as long because, the mistakes we made early on in Wednesday Night Dash, we're not repeating with the Indy League. I mean, it's a different animal altogether, but fundamentally running a league and is running a league.
Yeah, and the quality of racing in Wednesday Night Dash. I last night I was actually just in the top carb cup split of the Talladega race, and if not for a lap car, we probably would have run all 15 laps clean. And I would say the intensity in that type of race in Wednesday Night Dash was as much and greater as the top split. It was a 2300 average.
It's weird, like, because I did an official race the other week for the first time in like almost exactly 1 year, and you're exactly right. The intensity and just how good this league is turning is just incredible. That it's just like I walked into a open race, and I'm just like, this isn't that bad. Like, this is way easier than Wednesday Night Dash. But still, it's like, you got good competition. You got drivers pushing each other to do better every week. People are making tremendous improvements from January to October. Um, I'm not meaning to single anybody out, but I've said this to him, so I'm not doing anything behind his back. But I said to Chris Fuge, he came in like a week after he started in iRacing, joined the league, and went to Indy the first week, and he sent it into turn one with cold tires, and it was just like, oh boy, this, this is gonna be messy. He really matured quickly in his driving, and it just shows that he's been working with Colton, who's one of the top tier performers in the league, and and others have worked together with these drivers and really stepped their game up, and you hear like JM Motorsports, Dawson Buchanan had a very dominant year in the Xfinity car, and the other JM cars were getting better and better as time went on because they were picking his brain, they were learning about tire management, and the results directly showed. Like it wasn't Dawson carrying that team. All four of them were week after week. If they weren't involved in an incident, they were up there in the top
Oh
five.
yeah. Yeah, it was really fun. I feel like every single race, me and Jax ended up battling one way or another. So just having stuff like that, just week in, week out, so much fun, fearless, and great racing with you. I'm looking
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the season.
As we're getting ready to go back in January 8th, we're gonna be under the lights at Homestead, and I mean we might have one or two spots available. So if you want in, go frracingonline.com/WND. Get in, lock your spot in, because like I said, I don't have to recruit. I mean, I think we're projecting right now as is like 22 drivers. And I haven't spent a single ounce of time recruiting.
And if you're looking for something on Tuesday nights, about a month later, we'll be
Yeah,
kicking
we're
off
gonna
Indy.
spend time recruiting the Indy race, and the GT race. It's gonna be free, whatever day we decide to do it. Um, I figured Saturday morning would have worked at best for people, but it just didn't. I think some people are just too hungover to get up and drive. That's Yeah, it was tough for me too because my kids have swim lessons on Saturday morning. So like I'm finishing these broadcasts and I'm getting like, come on, we gotta go. But
Yeah, and I'm either getting ready to leave for swim meet or already on the road traveling for some of them. So we had kind of schedule around my schedule and
yeah, so we'll figure it out.
yep.
And but yeah, it's just it's been a good year of league racing. Endurance is taking that next step forward. You want to drive with us on the endurance team. Even if you're still, I mean, we haven't formally created an academy at this point, but if you're new to the endurance racing side of things, come into the Discord. Links in the in the description here, and just say, "Hey, I want to race endurance with you guys." And it's like, maybe
You
you're
know,
not.
we'll look at it too and kind of see where you're at. If we need to put two teams together or figure out how we split things up, we'll definitely do that. But
If
look at our chat. We're talking with what's working, setups, you name it. We're
Yeah, I mean,
trying
if
to help each other.
you're not ready to go into a 24-hour race, fine. But you get in there, drive with us, pick the brains of our the experienced drivers we work with. We like I said, it's our goal to field at least two teams every official event. And sometimes someone's not going to be able to make it. That if somebody needs to slot in, that could be your spot. I mean, hey, if we have enough people that have interest that we field three or four teams for Daytona, even better, because that again helps with the branding, it helps with the league attention. It's all good.
Most definitely.
So yeah, I mean, I again when we started in this and sat down in June of 2021 and started kind of like, what are we gonna do with this? And we didn't know. And even some of the ideas we had up front where we thought we were gonna go, it didn't go that way. And I mean, can you believe what we built in 3.5 years, basically?
Well, and even just the idea of starting this podcast. Now we're well clear of 100 episodes and getting listeners all over the place. And
Broke 5,000 all-time listens, a little bit while back, and yeah, again, we appreciate everybody tuning in. And we know, shout out to both, John Miles and Hunter Hughes who posted their Spotify Wrapped, and we were in their top five. We were number one, yes. So this is F Racing Garage Talk, the number one podcast on John Miles' Spotify Wrapped for 2024. Take that, Dale Jr.
I'll take it. And
We outranked Dale Jr. Download.
the other big thing too, it's we're expanding the broadcasting segment. If leagues are looking for places to broadcast and get off their personal channels, we have that. We're looking for broadcasters to do some different things and
We're
also
just,
expanding into Rocket League.
yeah, I mean, we're Rocket League's not moving along as quickly as I hoped it would, but we might have to postpone that launch until later next year. But with the league racing and bringing in, working and having some preliminary conversations, and we we've Stadium Scene TV is going to see some growth next year. I mean, we're already doing pretty well considering that we have regularly two shows and then two leagues. Well, technically a third with the monthly league. And we're still like ending up, you're looking at the search metrics and seeing the league broadcasts and Garage Talk and the Daily Dribble showing up in hundreds of thousands of searches, and we've got people tuning in, and over 100 people tuning in live on Tuesday night for a Indy Racing World Series race. And
Yeah, that was awesome to see it hit triple digits for that race.
yeah, that was our first triple digit. I mean, we've had triple digits several triple digits when it counts to live plus people who tuned in and watched the replay, but that was our first triple digit live broadcast. And it's unreal. It's just, we're going to keep building on that growth. We don't want to dilute what we have or get ourselves spread too thin, but we're looking at some of these growth opportunities with bringing in third party leagues and partnering with these third party leagues to broadcast them and bring them into the Stadium Scene TV family. And it just, yeah, we've got some major potential here in 2025, and we're fully planning to take advantage of that. Again, we thank everybody who's tuned in and listened to watch and raced with us and hung out with us on our Discord or participated in the charity race. Just incredible. It just
Ever met
absolutely
up
incredible.
at actual races?
Yeah, yeah. I finally had my first meetup. Um, finally I met Mark Vickers in person, even though we live 20 minutes apart. It only took 3 years, but not quite 3 years, but
Yeah, lots of fun. It's been a really fun year.
and we're just getting started. So as we wrap up today, I hope everybody has a great holiday season with whatever holiday you celebrate, because there's a lot of them in the next few weeks. And I have to go and wrap my gift that my kids are giving to me. Yeah,
We did
so
it last episode. Check out the affiliate links through our
yeah,
website.
I
All
went
those little
shopping.
pieces help us out, keep bringing things out, bringing out content for you guys.
We actually, yeah, we pitched Extreme Sim Racing last time, and what happens? I go and end up with a sim rig in my. And it's funny too with the wheel stand and wheel. It's like, hey, it's compact. I only have to slide the chair up there. I feel like the way I have this set up, it actually takes up less space with the full rig versus. I
I
mean,
believe
obviously
it.
when the chair is not there, it doesn't. But I had a lot of fun putting that together until the wheel stand fell over on my side,
Oh,
and I was like, "Ow, that hurt!" And like, uh, I was like, I don't know. I was like getting dressed in the morning, and my wife's like, "What the hell did you do to yourself?" And I go, "What do you mean?" I looked down, I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, that is a nasty looking bruise on my side." She's like, "What did you do?" I'm like,
I got in a fight.
Yes, you should see the other guy. No, and yeah, it's just my uh yeah, the wheel stand fell on my hip when it was balancing. I was doing something stupid when I was trying to move it through here, and it just kind of expanded out and just caught me in the side, right above my hip.
Yeah, if you ever have something like that, embellish the story, make it sound good,
You
and
know
don't be
what?
afraid to change it every time.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't really care. Like, I broke my foot when I was like 24, 25, and I go to the hospital, and the nurse is like, "How'd you break your foot?" I said, "I broke it getting out of bed." And she just looked at me like, "What?" I go, "Yeah, I overslept. I was late for work. I go to get out of bed really quickly. I roll my ankle, and the bone, like right under the ankle on my foot, just broke."
Oh,
And
remind me, where did you bruise your rib or did you break a rib in Colorado?
it was the cartilage tear.
That's what it was.
Yeah, still feel that to this day.
Couldn't figure out why you couldn't breathe. Bet you elbowed yourself in the stomach.
I elbowed myself in the stomach because like a 6 or 7 year old kid on a snowboard cut me off, and I was not good enough to, let's say, recover from that, and elbowed myself right in the rib cage as I went down. Yeah, my injuries are just really stupid. Like every somewhat major injury I've ever had has just been so dumb. I sprained my knee sleeping once
That,
somehow.
that one's good.
I just, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
at
don't know.
least if you get any grief on a sim rig, you can just say, "Hey, I'm keeping myself in one spot and less chance of injuring myself,"
That
which
is
will be
right.
cheaper. This is cheaper than a
Well,
hospital bill.
what's funny though is I saw a guy who he bought a direct he upgraded to a direct drive, and I don't know what kind it was. And he did not anticipate the jump from going from his Logitech to a direct drive wheel, and it just hard cranked, sprained his wrist. And I've thought about that too. Like sometimes there's like, you can turn those settings down in the Sim Magic wheel so it's not as violent. And I would highly recommend doing that. But it's like, just like in real life, you go into the wreck, what do the drivers do? I do the same thing.
Even on my Logitech, if I know the wreck's going to be a good one, I get my hands off.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's funny, like these guys with these sim racing injuries. I mean, mine was a rig fell on me or a wheel stand fell on me, but
Those wheels, they'll snap on you.
oh, they will. Yeah, I've thought about that. Like, I've let my kids use it, but I cranked the wheel all the way down to like 3 Newton meters. Because beyond that, it's like I don't want to break my kid's wrist and have to explain to the hospital that my kid broke,
They
broke
did
her
what?
wrist playing a video game.
Yeah, better not to explain that one.
Yeah, well, anyway. F4racingonline.com, at F4racingonline on social media. Maybe when we come back in January, TikTok will still be around. Maybe it won't. It might
Yeah,
not.
one way to find out, I guess.
So follow us on Instagram, I guess. I mean, we tend to do the most there. It's unfortunate because we're picking some momentum up on TikTok, and it may very well just go away.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm guessing something will work out in
Yeah, I
the
think it'll
11th hour that will save it.
it's a very interesting story. Like it's like I get the legitimate national security concerns of it, but at the same time, like the reason why they won't sell, one is they don't want to be bullied. But the second part of it is like I guess the whole algorithm is not exclusive to TikTok. It's like their proprietary algorithm that they use to like match people up and find content. And they have another like app that they have, or a couple other apps. And if they were to sell TikTok to somebody else, they'd have to share their proprietary technology to somebody, which is what makes TikTok different. So, I mean, I don't know. Again, not my problem to figure out.
Yeah, I'm sure something will work out.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Oh, we're not supposed to be texting each other either.
No, yeah, yeah. So, the Chinese government might be interested in my text.
That's why I said, if you want to look at my ramblings on text message, just call me up and I'll tell you. Just here, read it.
I'm just like, I don't say anything in text that I don't that like you see these people, their text messages get leaked. It's like, I don't care. You can leak my text messages. You might see the occasional like dirty joke or something or meme that's kind of cringy, but nothing horrible, and I don't really care.
I have learned if there's anything questionable, do it over a phone or in person.
Well,
Or in
it's
person.
both. Allegedly, the Chinese government has been able to like listen to people in real time on phone calls. And the problem in public too is if you're in public, somebody could be recording their phone and get you there too.
Yep.
So
You're not getting away from it. Just
I
watch what
don't.
you say.
It's just I never leave the house.
Just enjoy driving in circles and making left-hand turns all day, which is what I like to do.
Yep. Yes, indeed. So again, have a good Christmas, a good Hanukkah, good New Year, good whatever, Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you celebrate throughout the month of December. And have a good New Year. We'll see you back. We don't know when exactly, but we'll be back sometime in January. And make sure, because we won't be back before Wednesday Night Dash launches again, January 8th at 10 p.m. Eastern on Stadium Scene TV. We will be back from Homestead, Miami in the Cup Cars. And if you want to drive with us, frracingonline.com/WND. There's like I said, one, maybe two spots open.
And thanks for tuning in. As always, hopefully we keep spreading the joy literally around the world. And until next year, we'll see you then.